exercise that part of my mind, like to be able to be in a place where it's so crowded, but still be able to stay in tune. And it's kind of like it's like an exercise, like me lifting weights, because
you said with you working at the airport and having all of these different, like it's kind of like background noises, just simultaneously running all day.
Yeah, running up right.
And it allows you to be able to exercise what?
Exercise like a higher state of consciousness. Be able to exercise, you know what I'm saying?
Your true dominant voice. Your true dominant system. So to be able to still function at your optimum functioning within your own system, no matter if you are in, if you are engaged with multiple systems running at one time that might that actually like counteracts your system in a way. Like their system don't run in the way your system run. They don't think in the way that you think, you know what I mean? So it's like if you're around that, submerged in that all day, and you don't, and so it's like it's giving you the opportunity for you to strengthen your knowledge of self, your education. It's like your education of thyself now, because it's like, okay, if you know this information, how you gonna move now with this information?
Absolutely, yes. You point on. You're 110% point on. Yes, it's like being in the world, but not of it. Being in the matrix, but not necessarily being subjected to the matrix.
Right. Like, being able to observe. I said being able to observe.
Being able to observe, you know what I'm saying, without being, without being, I don't say without being observed, but yeah, being able to observe.
Like being able to observe without having to go like tap in and jump into the mix.
Wait, say the last one thing. Last thing.
So look, them voices, there go those voices again.
Yeah, there it goes. It's kind of like, you know what it is? It's like a schizophrenia, right? It's like an external version of schizophrenia. It's like that,
different running programs. It's kind of like, it's like on the computer. Like when you're on the computer, you got all these different tabs open.
Yeah.
Or like on your phone, you have all these different screens open, and then it's like you have all these different programs running at the same time, and then we wonder why we feel like we can't process our information or our data and ourselves, our mind at an adequate degree and like at a balanced, rapid rate. Our processing system is slower. It becomes slower and starts to slow down until it crashes.
Right. Damn, I never put it like that. Like,
wow.
Man, it's amazing how a computer, how the structure of a computer can explain something like that. Because the world is a simulation. You know, if you look at it as a simulation, which it is, you know what I'm saying? It's a conscious entity. However, it is, in a sense, a simulation because things.
It's a conscious programmed entity.
Yes. And so, with that being said, it's very it has repeated motions. You know, like the 777 333. You start seeing certain things that, you know what I'm saying, that play out over and over again. Whether that be scenarios, whether that be, you know what I'm saying, certain things in our lives and things like that, and you start to see the semblance between all of them, then you can kind of like crack the code, you know?
Right.
And I think that's kind of where, why, you know what I'm saying, we have this, like, certain sciences that we use to kind of go behind that. That's why I love Noble Drew Lee's platform, because it allows me to kind of tap into the motherboard, if you will, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, from your...
Yeah, like even if I'm messing up or you telling me like, Julius, I need to do it, and I don't see it right away, I can always tap back in later. Like I'll go back tonight and think about it, and I'll tap into that part of myself. And I'll be like, okay, all right, I need to go into this. Like you said, the tabs. I like how you said the tabs. All these tabs are running.
Right.
And so like it's a lot going on at one time.
And that's why meditation allows you to kind of like observe those tabs so you can know that they're running, and then you can consciously choose to dismantle them, You know what I mean? By just observing and acknowledging that they're there. Because if I see that my phone is running slow, or you know what I mean, like I'm trying to download something and it's just like taking a long time, or is my system feel like it's backed up, and I just, it's kind of like I subconsciously just swipe up on my iPhone and kind of like, I view to see what tabs are open, and I just start, swiping it away. Okay, delete, clear, right? And I clear out the tabs, and when I clear it out, say it again.
No, I'm feeling what you're saying. I know exactly what. Yeah, I'm like, delete. You're like, delete that. Yeah, I don't need that. That one doesn't work for my best interest. Let me delete that one.
Well, because it's slow. Well, it's not that's my best interest. It's just that I gotta make space for my system, to be able to run properly. Like if I have too many windows and tabs open in my mind, I can't really fully be present and focused on the task at hand, and to give my full attention and awareness, my full capacity in that moment. So whatever I create, it won't be for my full energetic charge.
Yeah, right. Can't really tap in all the way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, can't put that makes sense. That's exactly, yeah.
So our phones is the same, similar to like our minds. It's like, okay, you got all these tabs open. Where is your mind at? You know what I mean? Did you take the time to, okay, your phone just was slowing up right now. It was tripping, the signal tripping. So it called you into action to go to those tabs and close out all those tabs. So that's the same thing that our body does to us, send us signals and the way how we feel these emotions, so we can go and like and take the moment to really like clear out these tabs in our mind. And education of thyself more so allows us to not just know our identity of our human being, but it also, education of thyself gives us the ability to identify and know our energetic being makeup, our energetic makeup and being, you know what I mean? How we feel. So,
that makes sense. It's like, it makes sense. It's like when the mind is occupied, it's like you can only focus on, just the way our mind is designed. It's like, if it's not able to use its full capacity for one thing, it's just spread out. It's like
ADHD. Like all these different mental awareness, mental issues they talk about, you know what I mean? And really, all these videos, I keep researching and watching them, and then the common denominator that I'm seeing more so is like, okay, the side effects, they need to ground themselves, balance their energy, you know what I mean? Be able to feed, demonstrate their holistic nature, you know what I mean? Tend and nurture to themselves holistically, but we're not trained this way to naturally tend to a system that honors Ashe, that honors the mother, father, and child, that holy trinity system, you know what I mean? And so that creates imbalance if all of those aspects of ourselves are not being tended to and nurtured, you know what I mean? So then we develop out of that imbalance. It's like these, how you mentioned schizophrenia. It's like we develop these different systems that to try to upkeep the imbalanced system. So it's like we create other voices in our head, other voices pop up to try to help out in the system. And these other voices are pretty much simulated from the outside voices that we hear. Maybe I see that maybe these characters are something that we've seen in a movie. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, now our brain because our brain is adaptable, like these devices too, in the internet. Like it's like AI, the intelligence is adaptable, you know, and that's how our minds are adaptable.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep going.
To more
Let me
stimuli.
say it right now, because I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Like, because people, you know, there's different versions of schizophrenia, you know, and
yes.
So it's like, oh yeah, it's like you think people talking on the street like they just talking to themselves and shit. Like, and then, but you be like, oh, look at them.
They feel more safe. That's where they feel safe at, in that system. Even when those voices aren't safe. You know what I mean? Like even when those voices that have come to become developed become aggressive, you know what I mean? And then what happens? Like they send them to go get drugs to try to silence the voices, to try to put them back into that idle mode that we were talking about. And so, peace, love, and light, y'all. Everybody who's tuning in right now. I know we're 11 minutes into the podcast, but we are at episode 5, and it sounds like this episode is because we allow spirit to guide us and to reveal what is necessary to address in this moment and now for ourselves and the collective consciousness, in order for us to expand in the ways that we need to in our lives. And so it sounds like this is addressing the important. Of course, everything we're talking about is going to be about knowledge. Is always going to come back down to the source of knowledge of self, education of thyself. And so in this podcast, we've already discussed how it is important for us to have education of thyself, and knowing and having education of thyself is not just knowing our physical selves and our past and our history. Education of thyself is also knowing our energetic makeup, our psyche and our thought processes. And the physical aspects helps us to trace back the patterns of how thought was formulated. So that's why it's together. You know what I mean? It's the physical and the energetic aspects are together, are married together. We need each other. And so having education of thyself, I want everyone to remember that don't just look at the physical. Education of thyself is knowing your own energetic makeup, like your own energetic signature, who you really are as a soul being, as a energetic transmission. What are you transmitting? You know what I mean? Like, what is your code to transmit? When you connect with people, what happens? You know what I mean? Like when you're connecting from your true self. And so, because everybody has a purpose, everybody got a purpose and a position to play here on earth. And once you really come to that acceptance of who you are, then you can fully thrive and love your life and really be successful, quote unquote, based upon how you show up for yourself, affirming and re-acknowledging, living as your revelation, walking revelation of your energetic signature, your energetic imprint of what happens when you are you. And so in this podcast, I feel like addressing the way how we think, the systematic thoughts, our systematic thoughts. Think about this, the matrix, the system, systematic thoughts. You know what I mean? I heard in the past they say our thoughts are not our thoughts. But we pick up on those transmissions, and sometimes we take those thoughts on as our own thoughts because we're not aware of our own home base energetic transmission.
You're going to have to go a little deeper into that when it comes to like we are not our thoughts, because We hear that a lot. Like, we're in our thoughts, but a person will be like, well, if I thought that, then that
Well,
means that I am.
well, because I like that you brought that up. It's because for the example of you working at the airport, and you're at the airport right now, and in the background as we're talking, it makes it really difficult for me to hear you, for you to even hear yourself, to transmit the frequency and information over to this party, to me, to my system. And so there's voices in the background. Those voices can be embodied as thoughts. If somebody's saying something and you're eavesdropping, your cells are eavesdropping, or you hear them, your system hears that information, that stimuli. It's going to make you think about what they said. So what is it that they're saying? What is the transmission, the energetic signature and signal that is being emitted that you're picking up on and that you are processing now in your system? Sometimes we might get confused and think that since we're processing that information in our system in that moment, that it's ours to process, or that it originated from us. But that doesn't mean that it's our originating thought. That means that we just picked up on that thought that's in the airwave. And since we don't know since we're not really truly solid in our own mother-father-child system, any other voice outside of us that can be turned into a thought, we think it's our thoughts.
And that goes back to the saying, what a man thinketh, so he becomes,
Exactly. If we subscribe to that thought, then yes, it becomes our thought. But if we don't know that we don't have to subscribe to that thought, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then
you don't have to.
If we don't know that we don't have to subscribe to it, then that puts us into danger, because now we are just susceptible to any thought. We're susceptible to be programmed in our system, in our software. We're going to download everything. So we're over here downloading everything, and then we get viruses, bugs, all type of stuff that we get it now. Now we're getting hacked. Our system's getting hacked, and it's getting hacked by all these different entities, programs.
Programs running. So many programs running.
So that's why it's important for us to have education of thyself, to be able to identify and address and be like, whoa, hold up. Who are you? Where did you come from? How did you get in here? Who allowed you in here? No, cycle out. That's why it's like sometimes you post something online and then you have these different comments, and there's different people trolling on your stuff that's trying to just combat the energy you're putting out because of the frequency of how they feel, or whatever they're meant to hold space for in that moment, whether it be to support or to be an adversary and teach from that type of energy, or you know what I mean, like stimulate from that source, and which creates a certain effect, in ripple effect. And so it's very important for us to really be educated about our own energetic system, to be solid in our structure. Like 1919 on the clock right now as we speak.
1919.
Ashe. So I know that I was supposed to define what it is that this podcast is about. And then I started to get into these different there's the children in the background, but that's good. So thank you, Spirit. So that's what it is, to distinguish our inner system, and to be very familiar with our true inner voices, because there's so many voices going on and playing out throughout the day that we can be programmed with, you know, that might really just be corruption, a problem for our system, create a distraction, a blockage, you know what I mean? And so meditating or getting back to that state, getting back to that 0 point of that meeting point. Yeah. That meeting point, that, okay, tapping in with you, mama, daddy. The child is here logging in for this transmission.
We're gonna call you in.
What do you guys think here? Am I seeing this correctly? Should I allow them into my room? Are they in alignment, mother, father? Or do they support me, our system? You know what I mean? Would this be a great decision to invest in this stimuli? Should I invest my attention here, or will it grow? Will it grow us? Will we grow them? Or will, we just be drained and depleted and used and abused? Something that really feel, you know what I mean? Feel and think about. This pandemic has been a blessing for us because of that. This pandemic has allowed us to really sit down with our own true systems, and to sit down with the systems that we've developed outside of ourselves, so we can be able to really analyze how do we develop that, and it's based on our inner systems. So it traces us right back to the source, our inner systems, so we can reprogram our inner systems, get more in tune with our inner systems, and so our outer systems can match our inner systems. And then we can be at peace, in balance, in ma'at, and enjoy knowing that we are a functional system now.
Right.
Not a dysfunctional
system. To be
system.
whole, not to be half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
And then every day
dysfunction.
becomes a holy day. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. 222. But it's,
Two, I like that.
yeah, it's just 222 1 o'clock.
Numbers.
Exactly, because that's divine alignment for us to really understand that.
The confirmation.
Yes.
This is why I appreciate good movies like Inception. You know what I'm saying? Movies like Inception, and it shows you how one can be hacked. It shows certain aspects, like the first scene, not the very first scene, but the scene where he's tapping into his dream and he's trying to get into his dream, and just how if you look throughout the story, I forgot the guy, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, how throughout the whole movie, he was holding on to his wife, and she passed away, and he really felt like it was his fault. It really wasn't her. If you really look deeper into the movie, it really wasn't her necessarily just haunting him, but it was himself and his own thoughts. And throughout the movie, and I know it gets deep, one would have to watch the full movie, but if you notice, like, until he fixed that issue with her, or whatever the symbol that was she was being used as, he couldn't fully accomplish the mission. But it was just showing me, it was a very deep movie.
That's a direct reflection. It's because she directly she gives him the opportunity to experience himself through another being that reflects his energy. Like, so it's like, that's why we choose certain partners that we have, that our system chooses. Certain partners that our system chooses because it has a similar components and makeups that directly hold the mirror up in place in a perfect way that we can decode where the misalignment is within our systems, or where what we can better incorporate within our system. You know what I mean? They're like the perfect stimuli to awaken a vision, a dream, a vision within ourselves of hindsight, of imagination, to see ourselves in the way how our true signature is. We can't see ourselves how we're emanating as in the moment, because we're in the moment of it. You know what I mean? So that's why it's important to dream and meditate, or be able to have an outside view of yourself, of your true self, your true,
Right.
you know, like your true components. And so, you know,
Because without that, it's just one.
It's like the mother father. Exactly.
Yeah.
Take it back to the source. Let's demonstrate by taking it back to the source and looking straight at the mother and the father. Inside of us, the mother and the father has the exact components to reflect to each other that it exists. It holds the amount of space that it holds. It holds the, you know, the counterpart for it to be able to exist.
Right.
It doesn't know that it exists as itself if it's not stimulated by itself, by another itself.
I know so.
So, yeah, because love is deeper than that. Love is not about just like the romantic feelings. Love is about you awaken me to my system. Yeah, like, yeah, no, it's not about that. It's genuinely about the awakening of the systems, of how, you know what I mean, of how these systems really thrive together. The mother and the father needs each other to give birth to its child, to its reality. He couldn't give birth to his reality without the mother. Maybe it was showing that it was, I didn't see that movie, but I do like that you brought up how these movies have an influence on how we on our thinking processes.
Right, correct.
And our viewing processes.
Process of how the mind works, and the issue, not the issue, but the antagonism of, it's all based on ancient science. All these movies, The Matrix.
Like, why did you pick that though? Why did you pick that movie?
That movie has so many different layers to it.
Like, you personally, why'd you pick that? Why would you say that would be one of your favorite movies?
One of my favorite movies, because it shows how, not just the dream world, because the world's based on the dreams. And so this whole thing is, he's trying to extract information from someone else. And the only way that he can extract it is by going deep into the person's subconscious mind. And as they go into these dreams, as he goes into these different avenues of individual subconscious mind, he sees they use symbols, certain physical symbols, to illustrate, the mazes and the things that the process of the mind, and how one has to, consciously be able to it shows
reprogram
symbology. Yes, you get what I'm saying? Like how one has the process one has to go through to tap into the subconscious mind.
Right. Okay.
And the way to do that is through analysis. The way to do that is through reflection, reasoning. And not just reasoning, but self-reflection.
Yeah, like what I said, like what I was saying, as far as like tapping into your own system.
Right.
Like,
yes.
Because, well, I don't want to get into that part because that'll be another podcast. But the reason why I asked you, why did you choose that? Like, why did you choose that stimuli? And the reason why you chose that stimuli, because that stimuli helps your process in some, like, you agree with it to some degree, that stimuli helps you process, helps your system process the way that the way that it needs to. You know, like, excuse me. It's like, huh?
The way out is the way in. You know, like the way out is the way in. Everyone wants to go to space, and we all want to do these extravagant things. But what if one knew that they can go inside of their mind and be able to tap into any state of time, or being in there is already embedded in our DNA.
If people knew that, the world structure, the system wouldn't be the way how it is now. That's why they created those distracting voices in the background to drown out the dominant main voices that are God, that leads us, you know what I mean, to life, to more life and sustainability, instead of those voices that are parasitic that leads us to our own demise and self-sabotage. You know what I mean? The inner God voices inside of us leads us to self-preservation, and self-preservation allows us to cultivate the land, you know, in the way that we've been designed to do so, through Ma'at, you know what I mean? Balance, law, justice, order, universal law. And so we have that natural balance and urge and desire to do those things for the land when we are naturally in tune with our inner system. We start fucking up the land when we're out of tune with our natural system, and that natural system that I talk about, that melanin, you know what I mean? It's like that melanin inside of us that our mother and our father holds, those DNA makeup. Our mother and father holds that DNA portal, and as a child we give birth to that here in this tangible realm, you know, through the way and how we navigate our systems. So that's why it's so important for melanated families to develop a system of showing ourselves how important it is to listen to our own intuition, develop our own intuition, support each other in our intuitions, you know, and really honor each other's natural system and hold space for that to collaborate and be in union and unity mind, so we can pretty much expand each other's consciousness, family, from each family to family. I say
interdependent.
Exactly. And there wouldn't be no competition because everybody's system already functions in the way that it naturally does. Excuse me. So on that note, I do want to wrap up this podcast for today. And I appreciate you, BC Bay.
Appreciate you. I love it. I appreciate you bringing me to the pod. I appreciate this beautiful communion that we have here, and helping also, you know, alerting our people, letting them know,
yes,
you know, how the best way to serve themselves. You know, that's beautiful. That's
by demonstrating.
Thing. So honors to you also.
Ashe. It's like, and through that of which you speak is by demonstrating our processes, demonstrating our system, our sovereign system. Ooh, 33333. All the clock. Ashe. Also, so much to y'all tuning in. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. Thank you for showing up for you, the true you, and allowing yourself to honor that essence and honor the mother, father, child, spirit inside of you, the Holy Trinity. Thank you for allowing yourself to really thrive in the education and knowledge of thyself, and to continue to show up for yourself, as when you do that, you inspire others to continue to show up for themselves too. Ashe to you. Peace.
Peace.